This is rather amusing, isn't it, darling?
Indeed, my dear, quite entertaining.
Amara, a young black maid working in the luxurious Whitford mansion, is humiliated by Ethan Whitford, the arrogant rich heir who forces her to crawl like a dog in front of his guests. Trapped in silence, she suffers daily cruelty and racism, until a chance meeting with Marcus, a community activist, gives her the courage to fight back. Quietly, she begins recording Ethan's abuse, each insult and command preserved as evidence. When the first leaks hit the internet, Ethan laughs them off until more recordings surface and his empire starts to crack. The world watches in shock as Amara and Marcus unleash the full truth, exposing Ethan's racism and arrogance to millions. His friends abandon him, his company loses hundreds of millions, and protests rise outside his gates. The once untouchable heir is stripped of power and cast into ruin, while Amara, once invisible, becomes the symbol of resistance and justice. From crawling in chains of humiliation to standing tall before crowds demanding change, her story is one of betrayal, resistance, and ultimate poetic justice, proving that no empire built on cruelty can stand forever. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers, their crystal drops scattering light across polished marble. Laughter echoed, sharp and cold, bouncing off the high ceilings. "Bring me another drink," Ethan Whitford drawled, slouched on a velvet chair. His champagne glass dangled carelessly in his hand. His friends, sons of politicians, heirs of tycoons, sat around him, already tipsy, their laughter eager, waiting for the show. Amara Johnson, dressed in the black and white uniform of service, stepped forward. Her hands trembled slightly, but she kept her face calm. "Yes, sir," she said softly. Ethan smirked. "Not like that, crawl. Crawl like the little maid dog you are." The men around him erupted in cruel laughter. Amara froze. For a second, her lungs forgot how to breathe. "Didn't you hear me?" Ethan tilted his head. "On your knees. Crawl." "Ethan bro, you're savage," one of his friends chuckled, raising his phone. "This is gold." Amara's eyes darted to the room. Everywhere, eyes glinted with curiosity and hunger. Some looked away uncomfortably. None stepped in. She inhaled, slow, controlled. Her knees touched the marble floor. Each shuffle forward was an earthquake inside her chest. Her palms pressed against the cold stone. The sound of her skirt brushing the floor was drowned out by the jeers. "That's it," Ethan's voice purred. "Good girl, Yuzi. She knows her place." One of his friends clapped. "Man, you own everything, even the help." Amara bit the inside of her cheek until the metallic taste of blood filled her mouth. She could not cry. Not here, not in front of them. When she reached Ethan's chair, she placed the glass delicately on the low table. Her hand trembled once, just once, then steadied. Ethan leaned forward, brushing his fingers across her hair, as though patting a dog. "See, perfect little pet. Stay down there for a while. I like the view." Her body stiffened. She forced herself still. "You're too much, Whitford." One guest laughed, raising his phone higher. "Post this, and you'll break the internet." "Don't post," Ethan snapped suddenly. "My father hates scandals." The laughter died down briefly, but only briefly. Amara knelt there, stone still, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. In her mind, her grandmother's voice whispered, "We endured, we survived, we carried dignity even when they tried to strip it away." The taste of blood thickened. Inside, a vow formed. "I will not forget. I will not forgive." Her eyes lifted, just enough to see Ethan's smug grin above her. The chandelier light cut across his sharp jawline, painting him like a golden idol of cruelty. And in that moment, while the world laughed, she carved the memory deep into her soul. One day, this would end. One day, he would crawl. The mansion's staff quarters always smelled faintly of bleach and boiled cabbage. The laughter from upstairs had long since faded, replaced by the hum of air conditioners and the clatter of distant dishwashing. Amara sat at the edge of her bunk, still in uniform, her knees aching from the night before. "You shouldn't have looked him in the eye." The voice came from Clara, the head housekeeper, her face lined from decades of service. She folded towels with sharp, precise movements. Amara's lips parted, but no words came. Clara's voice softened, though her eyes stayed hard. "I know what he did. Everyone knows, but you'll keep your mouth shut, child, for your own good." Amara clenched her fists. "You want me to just accept it? Crawl when he says crawl. Bark when he says bark. Clara stopped folding. For a moment, silence thickened the room. Then she spoke low, almost a whisper. You think you're the first? You think Whitfords haven't been breaking people like us for generations? They own the courts, the papers, the politicians. If you fight, you lose. And when you lose, you don't just lose the job, you lose your name. You'll never work in this town again. From the far cot, Rosa, a younger maid with wary eyes, muttered, She's right, Amara. My cousin sued a family like them once. They buried her case in paperwork. She couldn't even get hired at a diner. After, Amara turned to Ward, her voice sharp. So what do we do, then? Just survive their games. Pretend nothing happened. Rosa's eyes flickered away. It's survival. That's all. The room grew heavy with unspoken truths. Generational truths. Clara leaned closer. Girl, you've got fire. But fire burns quickest when it's out in the open. Hide it, or it'll consume you before it touches him. Amara swallowed hard, her throat tight. I can't keep pretending. My mother, she worked double shifts in hospitals, where doctors treated her like she was invisible. My grandmother scrubbed floors for families who called her girl like it was her name. And me, I swore I'd never kneel. Her voice cracked, but I did. Last night, I did. Clara's eyes softened, but her words stayed firm. You knelt because you had to, not because you wanted to. There's a difference, Rosa whispered. We all saw his face. Ethan, he enjoys it. That's not just power, that's cruelty. Amara nodded slowly. Exactly. And cruelty leaves cracks. Every cruel man thinks he's untouchable until he isn't. Clara's jaw tightened. Be careful. Those words are dangerous. The air seemed to hum with the weight of warning. The next afternoon, Amara carried a tray through the sunlit garden, her back straight, her steps measured. Ethan lounged beneath the canopy with 3 business associates. Their tailored suits glistened faintly in the light, their laughter smooth and professional. Amara, Ethan called lazily, without looking at her. Kneel, serve the drinks on your knees. Our guest should see how obedient you are. Her throat constricted. The men around him chuckled awkwardly, exchanging glances. One of them, older, graying, cleared his throat. Ethan, perhaps, but Ethan cut him off, eyes glittering. You'll see, she's trained. His gaze locked onto hers, daring her. Amara's knees trembled. For a heartbeat, she considered obeying. Just another humiliation, just another day. But Clara's words echoed. Hide the fire. Don't let it burn you first. So she smiled faintly, bowed her head, and set the tray neatly on the table while remaining on her feet. A flicker of irritation crossed Ethan's face. Next time, he muttered under his breath, leaning close so only she could hear. I'll make sure you don't forget your place. Amara met his eyes. Just for a second, enough for him to see the simmering storm inside her. Then she turned and walked away. Behind her, the men resumed their polite laughter, but Ethan's silence followed her like a shadow. That night, in the quiet of her bunk, Amara stared at the ceiling. Her hands itched with the urge to act, to resist, to do more than survive. Rosa's voice broke the silence. Why didn't you kneel today? Amara turned her head. Because if I keep kneeling, I'll forget how to stand. Rosa studied her for a long moment. You're going to fight him, aren't you? Amara's lips pressed into a thin line. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day, yes. Clara exhaled sharply from across the room. Then God help you, child, because when you strike at a Whitford, you'd better not miss. Amara closed her eyes. I won't. The vow settled into her bones, deeper than fear. The marble floors gleamed so brightly they mirrored every shadow. Amara had polished them herself that morning, hands raw from scrubbing. By evening, she was back in the ballroom, tray balanced on her palm. Ethan's voice cut across the music like a whip. Johnson, over here. Amara moved quickly, weaving through the crowd of laughing heirs and jeweled women. She set a glass before him. Ethan leaned back in his chair, grinning. On your knees. Again her chest tightened. Sir, there are, don't talk, crawl. His tone sharpened, slicing the air. A hush fell over the immediate circle. The guests leaned in. Some smiled nervously. Others lifted phones, pretending to check messages, but angling their cameras. Amara's hand twitched against the tray. Her mind screamed to refuse, yet the weight of every warning pressed down. Slowly, knees to the polished floor. She obeyed. The laughter began, again low, cruel, rolling through the room like smoke. Ethan chuckled. That's better. See, gentlemen, some people are born to serve, to obey. A young woman in a silver dress whispered, that's too far. But no one moved, no one intervened. When Amara placed the drink at his feet, Ethan tapped her chin with his shoe. Look at me when you serve. Pets should always look at their master. Heat rose in her cheeks. She looked up, her reflection fractured in his polished leather. He smiled, satisfied. Good girl. Later, in the staff corridor, Rosa rushed to her side. Are you all right? Amara's voice was hollow. Does it matter? Rosa's eyes darted nervously. He'll keep pushing. He likes breaking people. I've seen it before. Amara leaned against the wall, pressing her palm to her chest. I can't. Her breath caught. I can't keep doing this. From down the hall, Ethan's laughter echoed faintly. A ghost that followed everywhere. The next morning bruises bloomed on Amara's knees, dark against her skin. She dressed slowly, biting her lip. As she buttoned her uniform, her phone vibrated. A text from her mother. Keep strong, baby. Don't let them see you break. Amara's throat tightened. She thought of her mother working overnight shifts, ignored by doctors, dismissed by patients. Thought of her grandmother, who once told her, dignity isn't given, you hold it, even when they try to take it. Her hands stilled on the last button. She opened her phone's camera. For a long moment, she stared at her reflection in the black screen. Then she switched to record. She slipped the device into her apron pocket, lens barely visible. That night, Ethan gathered his friends in the study. Cigars smoked, laughter rattled. Amara entered quietly with a tray of whiskey glasses. Ethan smirked. Johnson, bark for us. The tray trembled in her hand. Excuse me, you heard me. His eyes gleamed with challenge. On your knees, bark like the Maid dog you are. A few of his friends chuckled. Man, you're ruthless. Her stomach twisted, rage clawing inside. Do it, Ethan said flatly, his voice dripping with boredom. Or, you're fired, and I'll make sure no one in this city hires you again. Her throat locked. The room spun with suffocating silence. She set the tray down slowly, knees bending, every motion mechanical. She let one hand shield her pocket, angling the phone. A sound left her lips low. Broken. Not quite a bark. Not quite human. Quite human. The room erupted in laughter. Ethan leaned back, smug, as if he had conquered the world. Inside, Amara's rage burned hotter than her humiliation. Let them laugh. Let them record in their minds, because I am recording too. Later, alone in her bunk, she played the clip back. Ethan's voice, sharp, cruel, undeniable. The laughter of witnesses, her own broken sound. Her hands shook, but not from fear, from power. For the first time since she entered the Whitford mansion, she felt something shift. She whispered to the dark, one day, this will end. And her phone, glowing faintly in her hand, felt like a weapon. The night air outside the mansion was heavy with jasmine. Amara stood by the iron gates during her short break. Phone pressed to her ear. Tell me you're safe. Marcus's voice crackled on the other end. I'm alive, Amara whispered. That's all I can promise. Marcus exhaled sharply. You shouldn't still be there. I can't just quit. Her fingers tightened around the bars of the gate. I need the money, and if I walk away, he wins. He'll do it to someone else. Silence stretched. Then his voice lowered. Amara, what exactly is he doing to you? Her throat closed. For a moment, she considered lying, saying it was just yelling, just insults. But the image of Ethan's shoe tapping her chin, the echo of laughter, clawed at her chest. He makes me crawl, bark, like an animal. Marcus cursed softly. Jesus Christ, that's not just abuse. That's degradation. I have it on record, she said, her voice trembling but steady. Every word, every laugh. A pause. Then Marcus's tone shifted, sharp and focused. Good. Keep recording. Every single time. Don't stop. Her eyes flicked back toward the mansion, glowing like a fortress behind her. And then what? He owns judges. He owns papers. Who's going to believe me? People will believe the truth when they see it. You just need enough of it. The next day, Rosa cornered Amara in the laundry room. I saw your face last night, Rosa whispered. After he made you do that. Amara kept folding sheets, hands stiff. Forget it. No, I can't. Rosa's voice cracked. He did the same to me once, not crawling, but he pulled me into a closet and told me I was lucky he didn't fire me. I still hear his laugh. Amara looked up sharply. Why didn't you tell anyone? Rosa laughed bitterly. Tell who? The police. They'd say I was lying. The court. His family owns half the city. I kept my head down, like everyone else. Amara's eyes softened. You don't have to keep it down forever. Rosa studied her. You're planning something, aren't you? Amara hesitated, then whispered, yes, but I can't do it alone. Rosa's lips trembled. then firmed. Then you're not alone anymore. That evening, Ethan held a business dinner in the grand dining hall. Crystal chandeliers glowed. The long table glittered with silverware. Amara entered with a bottle of red wine, every step deliberate. Ethan's eyes followed her like a hawk. Johnson, show our guests how well trained you are. Serve it on your knees. The table fell silent. His guests, men in expensive suits, women in diamonds, shifted uncomfortably. One man cleared his throat. Ethan, perhaps do it. Ethan cut in, his smile cold. They need to see loyalty. They need to see obedience. The guests' unease thickened, but no one objected. Amara knelt. She poured, steady hands betraying nothing. But inside her apron, her phone recorded. When the glass filled, Ethan raised it high. To power, he toasted, to keeping everyone in their place. The guests laughed politely, though some eyes flickered with discomfort. Amara rose silently, retreating with the tray. Her heart thundered. Every cruel word, every smirk, now stored safely in her phone. Later that night, in the dim corridor, Rosa slipped beside her. You recorded him again, didn't you? Amara nodded. Rosa whispered, be careful. If he catches you, he won't, Amara said firmly, because I've already decided. I'm done being silent. Across town, Marcus sat in his cluttered apartment. Papers and law textbooks piled high. Amara's recordings played through his laptop speakers. A slurs. Ethan's orders, Ethan's laugh. Marcus rubbed his temples. This isn't just harassment. This is systemic abuse. Pattern, evidence, witnesses. He looked at Amara through the screen during their video call. This could bring him down. He said. Amara's eyes were tired, but steady. That's the plan. Ethan, meanwhile, reclined in his father's leather chair, scrolling through his phone. He smirked at messages from friends. Savage, legend, king. Arrogance burned bright in his chest. He never noticed the cracks forming beneath his empire. The Whitford estate had always been a fortress, its gates high, its walls impenetrable. But now, whispers crept through the marble halls. A rumor here, a screenshot there. The first video surfaced on an anonymous account. Ethan laughing, calling a staff member worthless, his voice dripping with contempt. At first it seemed like nothing, a short clip, no proof of context. Ethan's PR team dismissed it as doctored, but then another surfaced. His sneer unmistakable, his words sharper. You people are born to serve, don't forget it. The internet caught fire. In the staff kitchen, Rosa scrolled nervously through her phone. It's everywhere, she whispered, showing Amara. Twitter, TikTok, news blogs. People are furious. Amara's pulse quickened. She recognized her own recording cut, edited, but unmistakable. Marcus's voice buzzed in her memory from their last call. Leak small pieces. Test the reaction. Watch him squirm. Rosa's eyes were wide. Ethan will find out someone's leaking. He'll tear the place apart. Amara folded her arms, voice low. Let him look. He won't find me. Still, a shiver ran down her spine. Every shadow in the corridor felt heavier. That evening, Ethan slammed his glass against the dining table, startling his guests. Whoever's doing this, he spat, will regret it. My lawyers are already drafting suits. One of his friends shifted uncomfortably. Bro, maybe lay low until it dies down. Lay low. Ethan's voice cut sharp. I don't hide. I don't bow. The world bows to me. His arrogance filled the room, but behind the swagger was a flicker of unease. He knew someone close was betraying him. In the shadows of the library, Amara texted Marcus. The cracks are forming. His reply came instantly. Good. Don't rush. The more he denies, the worse it'll hit. When the truth explodes, she typed back, fingers trembling slightly. What if he finds out it's me? Another buzz. Then we make sure he can't touch you. Just hold on, Amara. The world is finally watching. Days later, Ethan strutted into the ballroom to find half the staff whispering. Conversations halted as soon as he entered, but the air was thick with suspicion. He glared. You all work for me. Remember that? Clara, standing near the back, kept her eyes down but her jaw clenched. Rosa shifted nervously beside Amara. Ethan's gaze swept over them, sharp, probing. One of you thinks you're clever. One of you thinks you can ruin me. Silence. Not a soul dared speak. He smirked. But I'll find you. And when I do, you'll wish you'd never set foot in this house. His footsteps echoed as he left, but the tension lingered. Rosa exhaled shakily. He suspects us. Amara's voice was calm, steady. Then let him, because deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. That night, she sat on her bunk, scrolling through her recordings. Ethan's voice filled the tiny room, each insult, each command preserved like evidence in a trial. Her cheeks still carried a faint bruise from the slap. She touched it gently, then whispered to herself, "Every empire falls, even his." And in the silence that followed, she almost swore she could hear the walls of the mansion, groaning cracks forming in the empire of a man who thought himself untouchable. The Whitford estate had always been a fortress, its gates high, its walls impenetrable. But now, whispers crept through the marble halls. A rumor here, a screenshot there. The first video surfaced on an anonymous account. Ethan laughing, calling a staff member worthless, his voice dripping with contempt. At first it seemed like nothing, a short clip, no proof of context. Ethan's PR team dismissed it as doctored. But then another surfaced, his sneer unmistakable, his words sharper. "You people are born to serve. Don't forget it." The internet caught fire. In the staff kitchen, Rosa scrolled nervously through her phone. "It's everywhere," she whispered, showing Amara Twitter, TikTok news, blogs. People are furious. Amara's pulse quickened. She recognized her own recording cut, edited, but unmistakable. Marcus's voice buzzed in her memory from their last call. "Leaks small pieces. Test the reaction. Watch him squirm." Rosa's eyes were wide. "Ethan will find out someone's leaking. He'll tear the place apart." Amara folded her arms, voice low. "Let him look. He won't find me." Still, a shiver ran down her spine. Every shadow in the corridor felt heavier. That evening, Ethan slammed his glass against the dining table, startling his guests. "Whoever's doing this," he spat, "will regret it. My lawyers are already drafting suits." One of his friends shifted uncomfortably. "Bro, maybe lay low until it dies down. Lay low." Ethan's voice cut sharp. "I don't hide. I don't bow. The world bows to me." His arrogance filled the room, but behind the swagger was a flicker of unease. He knew someone close was betraying him. In the shadows of the library, Amara texted Marcus, "The cracks are forming." His reply came instantly, "Good. Don't rush. The more he denies, the worse it'll hit when the truth explodes." She typed back, fingers trembling slightly. "What if he finds out it's me?" Another buzz. "Then we make sure he can't touch you. Just hold on, Amara. The world is finally watching." Days later, Ethan strutted into the ballroom to find half the staff whispering. Conversations halted as soon as he entered, but the air was thick with suspicion. He glared. "You all work for me." Remember that Clara, standing near the back, kept her eyes down but her jaw clenched. Rosa shifted nervously beside Amara. Ethan's gaze swept over them, sharp, probing. "One of you thinks you're clever. One of you thinks you can ruin me." Silence. Not a soul dared speak. He smirked. "But I'll find you. And when I do, you'll wish you'd never set foot in this house." His footsteps echoed as he left, but the tension lingered. Rosa exhaled shakily. "He suspects us." Amara's voice was calm, steady. "Then let him." Because deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. That night, she sat on her bunk, scrolling through her recordings. Ethan's voice filled the tiny room, each insult, each command preserved like evidence in a trial. Her cheek still carried a faint bruise from the slap. She touched it gently, then whispered to herself, "Every empire falls, even his." And in the silence that followed, she almost swore she could hear the walls of the mansion groaning cracks, forming in the empire of a man who thought himself untouchable. The mansion felt quieter than usual that morning, too quiet. Amara could sense it in the air, like the heavy stillness before a storm. The staff whispered less, their eyes flicking toward their phones when Ethan wasn't looking. Something was building, something unstoppable, and Amara was the one who had lit the match. Marcus's call came just after dawn. "It's time," his voice said, calm but charged with fire. Amara's throat tightened. All of it, he confirmed. "Full release. Let the world see him as he is." She hesitated, staring at the folder of files on her hidden phone, recordings, videos, screenshots, months of Ethan's cruelty captured without him realizing. "What if?" Marcus cut her off gently. "He stole your dignity, your freedom. This isn't revenge, Amara. This is justice." Press send. Her finger hovered, trembling. Then click. By mid-morning, the world had changed. News feeds exploded with Ethan Whitford's voice. "Crawl, dog. That's your place. You people don't deserve respect. You exist to serve. This empire is mine, and no one can touch me." The internet didn't hesitate. Hashtags trended. Outrage spread like wildfire. Celebrities weighed in. Activists mobilized. Ethan's face, once the symbol of luxury and power, became a meme for arrogance and racism. In the staff hall, Rosa nearly dropped her phone. Amara. It's everywhere. Millions of views in an hour. Millions, Clara whispered. They know. The world finally knows. Amara swallowed hard, her chest pounding. She had wanted this. She had dreamed of it. But seeing it unleashed, the fury of millions, was overwhelming. Rosa grabbed her hand. This is the beginning. You did it. Meanwhile, Ethan stormed through his office like a trapped animal. Screens blared with headlines. Whitford heir exposed in shocking racism scandal. Luxury brand faces collapse amid outrage. Boycott calls intensify against Whitford Corporation. He hurled his tablet against the wall, shattering it. Lies, he roared. All lies. They're jealous, all of them. His assistant lingered at the door. Pale, sir. Shareholders are demanding an emergency meeting. The stock. What about the stock? Ethan snapped. The assistant hesitated, then whispered, it's crashing, sir. Billions lost overnight. Ethan's face drained of color. That night, the staff gathered in the servants' quarters, phones glowing as they scrolled through endless coverage. Videos of Ethan went viral, him screaming, insulting, humiliating, side-by-side comparisons of his luxury empire versus the suffering of those beneath him flooded social media. Clara whispered, voice trembling with awe, it's over for him. Rosa's eyes glistened. He'll never recover. Amara sat quietly, her hands folded. The others looked at her with gratitude, suspicion, and fear, all mixed together. Finally, Rosa spoke softly. It was you, wasn't it? Amara met her gaze. She didn't confirm, she didn't deny, but the fire in her eyes told the truth. Across town, Marcus stood before a small crowd at a community center. Cameras recorded as he spoke. This is not just about one man's cruelty, he declared. This is about the system that allowed him to thrive while silencing voices like Amara's today. We've seen what happens when the silenced speak. The crowd erupted in applause. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Amara. It's done. He smiled grimly. Yes, and tomorrow, we make sure he never rises again. Back in the mansion, Ethan sat alone in the grand dining hall, untouched wine trembling in his hand. For the first time in years, he felt powerless. Voices from outside echoed faintly, protesters gathering beyond the gates. The chants were clear, defiant. Justice for the workers, down with Whitford. Ethan gritted his teeth, whispering to himself, they'll forget. They always forget. I'll rebuild. But the chants only grew louder. And somewhere in the shadows of the estate, Amara listened with a steady heart, whispering words she had once feared to believe. It's over for you. The boardroom was suffocating. Once, Ethan Whitford's presence filled these meetings with smug confidence. Today, he sat slouched at the head of the table, sweat glistening under the cold fluorescent lights. Around him, the board members stared with hard, tired eyes. One cleared his throat. Ethan, the evidence is undeniable. The public backlash is catastrophic. Our partners are pulling out. We've lost nearly $300 million in market value in a week. Ethan slammed his fist on the table. I built this empire. You think you can take it from me? I'll sue every last one of them. Enough. Another board member cut him off. You've embarrassed this company. You've become a liability. Effective immediately, you're removed from all leadership roles. The words struck like a hammer. Ethan's jaw hung open, but no one moved to comfort him. No one defended him. He was alone. Meanwhile, outside the Whitford headquarters, hundreds gathered with signs and voices raised. Boycott Whitford, justice for the workers. No more chains of wealth and abuse. Marcus stood at the front, megaphone in hand. This is what happens when arrogance meets truth. The walls of injustice crumble when we speak together. Cheers erupted. Cameras flashed. The protests were broadcast worldwide. Amara, watching on her phone from the servants' quarters, felt her chest swell. Marcus wasn't just fighting for her, he was fighting for all who had been silenced. That night, Ethan stumbled through the grand halls of his mansion, now eerily empty. Many staff had left. Even Clara, loyal for decades, had quietly packed her bags and disappeared. He poured himself a drink, hands shaking. The once pristine estate felt like a tomb on the TV. A reporter's voice echoed, Luxury empire Whitford Corp. collapses under scandal. Former heir Ethan Whitford faces multiple lawsuits and investigations following leaked evidence of racist abuse against employees. Ethan hurled the glass at the screen, shattering both. No, this is my kingdom, mine. His voice cracked, echoing through empty rooms, but the house didn't answer. Amara walked the corridors, her steps measured. She stopped before the closed double doors of the dining hall. Inside, she could hear him pacing, ranting, unraveling. For a long moment, she stood there in silence, memories crashing into her. The humiliation, the commands, the slap, the chains of his cruelty. She whispered, not loud enough for him to hear. You made me crawl, but look who's on his knees now. Then she turned and walked away. The next morning, headlines confirmed what many already knew. Whitford heir declares bankruptcy amid scandal. Former staff speak out of abuse and humiliation surface. Amara Johnson, the voice that sparked a revolution. Though Amara's name had leaked, the world didn't condemn her. Instead, she became a symbol, a quiet maid who dared to challenge the untouchable. Reporters begged for interviews. Activists hailed her as a heroine. For the first time, she was not invisible. She was heard. Marcus found her at the community center. Days later, you did it, he said, his smile weary but proud. Amara shook her head softly. No, we did it. All of us who refused to stay silent. He studied her for a moment. So, what comes next? Amara looked out the window, where children played in the sun, their laughter rising like a song of freedom. Next, she said quietly, we make sure no one else suffers like we did. We turn pain into change. Marcus nodded, and for the first time in years, Amara felt a sense of peace. Back in the crumbling mansion, Ethan sat in darkness. The empire he once flaunted was gone. His name was mud. His so-called friends had abandoned him. Only silence remained. And in that silence, he finally understood the truth he had mocked, denied, and spat upon. Every empire built on cruelty will one day collapse. His had fallen faster than he ever imagined. Amara, walking free under the open sky, whispered one last time into the wind, justice isn't revenge. Justice is the world finally seeing. And as the sun rose, bright and unyielding, it felt like the beginning of something new, something unbreakable. The city moved differently now. Billboards once plastered with Whitford luxury ads now carried bold messages. Dignity is not for sale. Voices will not be silenced. It felt surreal. Ethan's empire had fallen, and in its ashes, something new was rising. For Amara, the world was no longer a cage of silence. She walked with her head high, no longer bending under invisible chains. At a press conference in a modest hall downtown, cameras clicked as she stood beside Marcus. She wasn't dressed in uniforms or shadows this time, only a simple blouse and jeans. Still, the weight of her presence filled the room. A reporter leaned forward. Miss Johnson, what do you want people to take from your story? Amara glanced at Marcus, then faced the crowd. Her voice was calm, steady. That silence protects no one, that no matter how powerful someone seems, truth can cut deeper than wealth or fear. And that justice doesn't come from waiting, it comes from standing together. Applause thundered, flashing lights capturing her every expression. But this time, she didn't shrink away. Later, sitting alone on the steps outside, Marcus joined her, handing over a cup of coffee. You know, he said with a soft grin, you've become a symbol. People are calling you the maid who toppled an empire. Amara chuckled quietly. I never wanted to be a symbol. I just wanted to be human, to be seen. Marcus studied her for a long moment. And now, she sipped her coffee, eyes on the horizon. Now, I think it's not enough to be seen. I want others to be seen too. The ones still trapped, the ones still crawling. Marcus's grin widened. Then maybe this is just the beginning. In the following weeks, Amara started working with community groups, organizing safe spaces for exploited workers. She spoke at schools, churches, rallies. Each time, her words carried the rawness of lived pain, but also the fire of resilience. Children looked up at her with wonder. Workers hugged her in gratitude. She was no longer just Amara the maid, she was Amara the survivor, Amara the fighter. The world had stripped her of dignity once, but now, she was reclaiming it and giving it back to others. Meanwhile, Ethan Whitford was nowhere to be found. Some claimed he had fled the country, hiding from lawsuits and creditors. Others whispered he lived alone in the decaying mansion, a ghost haunting his own ruins. But to Amara, He no longer mattered. His name was just another reminder that cruelty may last a season, but justice lasts forever. One evening, Rosa visited Amara at the community center. "You're different now," Rosa said softly. Amara smiled faintly. "Maybe I'm finally myself." Rosa's eyes watered. "You gave me courage. I'll never forget that." They embraced, not as maid and co-worker, but as sisters bound by survival and hope. Months later, Amara stood on a stage at a rally filled with thousands. She took a deep breath, letting the energy of the crowd wash over her. "This is not just my story," she told them. "It belongs to every person who has ever been told they are less. Every person forced into silence. Every soul who was made to crawl when they were born to stand." The crowd erupted, voices joining as one. Amara raised her fist, no longer trembling, no longer afraid. And as the chant of justice echoed across the city, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of fire and promise. For the first time in her life, Amara felt the weight lift completely. Her story had begun with humiliation in the shadows of a mansion. Now it ended under an open sky, where freedom was not just a dream but a reality. A new dawn had come, and she walked into it, unbroken,